Sam, you there? Okay. Got it. Okay. Great. Anna. Oh, you're muted.
You good, Tammy?
I know, I'm just, it's quite a, that's quite a dark day here. It's really raining. But I'll get
Doug's room, right?
Nope, it's Sam's.
Okay. Okay. Get out. Anna, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I've just been away for the weekend and I'm sleepy.
Okay.
Wow, everybody's tuning in.
Wow. Okay. This is like very timely.
Who's that?
It's like it's raining.
It's Aaron. Haven't seen you for ages.
Nice to see you, Aaron.
Harold. Jaswinder. Het gaat.
Goed. Great.
Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
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 Awesome. I am popping in and out, of course.
We're getting close to the Brady Bunch here. The 9 people like the old TV show.
Doug.
Not yet. He said he was feeling better yesterday, so
yeah.
Was not
all week he was super sick. Yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and without Doug, we are all blocked in a session like this.
I think he's taught some things. We can probably unblock.
A group block. And by the way, happy birthday to you all.
Yeah, happy birthday, everyone. Or happy anniversary, isn't it?
Well, it's today.
Yeah. Today, 1 year ago, Anna Trout and I think it was really, and Sam, there was some Sam in there. We had that moment of, oh my God, this has to change. Some last minute changes did happen, including that no one in the proposal could be identified in person, and that we had to take out all but one of the images. Yeah.
Mm.
So it was a bit of a mad rush at the
submission day, yes. I have a submission day to today for the Appreciative Inquiry Conference in Nice. And I'm really at the very last end.
You are organizing an appreciative inquiry conference?
No, it's a world conference. All the last was 2015 in Johannesburg and now in Nice, France. No.
So who's
Guys
that
are doing that. Huh?
Who is it organized by?
It's always a country takes over. So it's the French who said they would do it. Last time it was the South African.
You're saying that there was something before it was written?
Yeah.
Was already.
Yeah. This is appreciative inquiry is a method that's in the 80s they created it. This is David Cooper Ryder and his professor. I never can it's an Indian name, always forget how to pronounce it. And, yeah, since then it took over all over the world, Nepal, wherever. So I'm just one little practitioner. In Johannesburg, there were 400, and I think in France will be at least how many.
And is your first book that has been written in that?
No. David has written quite a few books. Yeah, a very big one. But I just, because this was, my whole day was like, what to have to do, and so I have to get out earlier to get that done by midnight. But I want to celebrate with all of you to first anniversary. Maybe when we do a check-in, how about saying what is present you to that 1 year lifespan of our group? So to include that in your check-in.
I would love to check in because I just had a very cool experience and I'd like to share it while the feeling is very strong. So I just sold an old visa, and this 70-year-old guy came around to get it. He drove from like the neighbouring village on this kind of quad bike thing. And he and I were standing outside chatting for like the last, I don't know, hour, something like that. All about how we live up here, or the struggles that people have. We've been talking about food production and healthcare and people's connection to nature, the fact that young people have to leave this area to get jobs, and just every single topic, religion, beliefs. He's a Christian, so he was telling me about his beliefs, but they all kind of map on to things feel, believe also. His wife, and just all of these amazing topics. And it's just a very special thing to, I thought, oh, it's this guy that sent me a message on Facebook. He'll come round, collect this freezer and disappear in 5 minutes. And instead I've just shared this really special hour with this man. yeah, it's just amazing when these things happen in life. It's like, this is really what it's all about, to feel that and share those moments. And there's a feeling of wondering, if I was staying, what kind of relationship could I build? You know, I'd probably go around and drink coffee. And he grew up in this area. He was born in this area and has been here his whole life. Like, what could I discover? And yeah, so that's what's here right now. And then, like, literally 3 minutes before this call started, was just the timing worked perfectly. Came straight in the door, and then it was 3 minutes to 5, and then here all of you are. Yeah, and Heiner owes me a bottle of champagne. He promised it would be cold in the fridge waiting for me for this conversation, but it's not there, Heiner. Something's obviously gone wrong.
No, I'm still in the street trying to find a shop to buy one. No, I'm actually left out in the street. I hope I can get home in some time. But I enjoy the sun. This is the red town hall of one of the districts of Berlin. And I hope to be back in a calm environment, not with so much traffic noise. So I better shut up.
We can't hear the traffic noise, Heiner. It sounds very clear.
You actually sound much clearer than normal, Heiner.
Maybe it's the glasses. I take them off.
Oh, Doug.
Look who's here. Who have we got there? The resurrection of Doug Breitbart.
You ain't kidding.
Welcome back, my friend.
So you guys miss me?
Yes, big time.
I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. I thought you are virtual from now on, but you are real.
Feels like I've been away a year. It's a lot of sessions to miss.
Just that you know, we're in the check-in round, and we include what is present when we think of 1 year of GCC.
Maybe as I have to now just jump into a bus, I'd tell my thing. It was very real for me. We were doing experiments, and I looked in all the documents, but I didn't take part because, like always, I was so busy. But I fully sympathized, and I thought, this is my thing: global, local challenges.
As nobody's talking, can I add something to my check-in about GCC and the anniversary? I can't think back a year because I wasn't around at that time, but I think I found the GCC in May. I think it was May. So maybe I have like a 6-month anniversary or something. Yeah, it's been life-changing. Like, literally. I had spent, I had asked for all of you in some way, you know, wanting to meet people that I could connect with on this level and collaborate with, and then you all arrived, like better than I had asked for. So I'm extremely, it's not always easy, I think, this process, you know, but I'm extremely grateful for all of you and the chance to experience this. And yeah, just be nice to see you all physically. But Anna's first on my list, so we're going to do that in 2 weeks' time, Anna, aren't we? Yeah, but you're all extremely special, very much loved.
Lucy, to be a little more specific, just by illustration of one change that you experienced due to meeting this.
Oh, so many. Just that comes to mind, like just to show up myself, say what I believe or feel, to you know, not to have a mask on, or to filter anything. And that was very clear to me from the first few sessions that I joined. It was just obvious. Here are these people I can do this with. And then everyone also models it themselves, so it feels like it just, you know, process, and it just keeps going. So that's been, yeah, that's one thing.
Seems like I've been here about the two. Like Lucy, I was looking for signs of maturity, increasing consciousness, and especially the education level. Education, universal education, global education, start till just after World War II. It was the second time that the Europeans and others came to the conclusion that everybody ought to have at least 9 years of education, if not more. That was one of the questions on my mind for the past few years. Where's the result of it? Why aren't we seeing more of the higher communication level? Ran into Tammy, Doug. I think it was Trasat Rama on the GSS website that I first had a very strong conversation with. Well worth having, I think. And I've been following and coming around ever since. Because of this group, I've ventured further into other spheres and found more people. I had a decent conversation yesterday morning at the church with an ex-head teacher as well. So where am I after a year or so? Much calmer, much more aware of the signs that I ought to be looking for, what to say, and more importantly, what not to say. As for being self, I'd like to know what being myself is. So being honest and forthright, I can only respond kind of WYSIWYG fashion. What I see is what I get. And I will respond accordingly. If I respond at a higher level, you won't talk with me. If you respond at a lower level, I'm an idiot. That's what my granddaughter said this morning to me. And I said, you must refrain from that word. We're not idiots. We may be silly at times, but we're all learning, you and me. So am I glad? This draw a distinction between being glad, which is a momentary thing, and being happy. I don't know what happy is. I'm content with where I am and what I'm doing. There is potential for more, but my input can only increase if I see the signs of it being taken up and increasing, which I would love to see. Now it's here. So I forward to hear. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. I don't pay, I appreciate and pay compliments lightly, but to this group, I'm cheers. I don't drink alcohol. The only thing that I drink that's of any mild stimulant, if you like, caffeine and tea. Here's a good drink, everybody. Sorry, Sam, didn't leave you out. I saw you at the bottom. So cheers you as well. Thank you for your immense input. Yes, I'll go and get some in a moment.
I just decided my birthday present is a city tour of Berlin.
Ist es dein Geburtstag?
Heiner, he was talking in German. We didn't expect that.
I'll check in. What a journey. It's in my journey, I've been searching for years for people who would be willing to really be themselves in relationship together, and to do this practice of being on the record. And yeah, it's, for me, there's a lot of depth that comes from the practice of being on the record. There's an opportunity for me to see myself as I actually am. And then, you know, like Lucy said, it's like, here's this group of people who are actually being who they are. And the tension between being recorded and being who you are is something that is present and has been present for me for a long time. And I've been learning, so deeply appreciative of, is that I can do this with trusted peers and friends, and that between us is something really incredible that I'm only starting to begin to grow. And I watched part of Heiner's session from last Sunday, and I realized that, you know, some things about Heiner, like he's really been deep into data and how that works. So I'm from the very beginning of when data was a thing, and there's such depth and richness in the wholeness of someone, and in being able to witness Heiner, I was like, oh my gosh, Heiner and I have some deep similarities in, I think, in being kind of embedded in this, and I think we all are, but I see it in my relationship, in reflection to Heiner, of having this sense of wholeness from within myself, and then working to have that be something that's actually articulated and seen. And further to that to be able to work with others to make it real and to make it concrete. And for me, this space has been a place where we can practice really seeing each other and being able to be in a not knowing place with safety, to be able to not know and still be talking, and know that it's likely that I will still be understood or at certainly received. And what I'm really excited and hoping for is that we can, I feel like we're in a really interesting pivot point. And so this year anniversary is an opportunity to kind of look at that, and that's awesome. And the pivot point for me is to take the next steps in really knowing what I am here to do and what each of you are here to be and do. And I have a sense, another sense that I have that's really important is a sense of being unconditionally met. And that's by, with each of you, I have a different relationship as that essence. And yeah, there's something that's very human of what I've been able to experience in relationship with others here that is very transformative and gives me a platform or a base from which to be who I am. And so I am deeply grateful for that. And I feel changed. I know I have changed a lot in this year and what I've learned and how I've grown. And so that's also, I have huge gratitude for that. So with that, I'm complete.
I'm also awful and thankful, and I experienced the last year that I learned language. Very often hearing the video recordings again and again, because every group has its slang. And so this was really exciting that I slowly come to be able to also say pivot when I mean pivot, because I didn't know that you use pivot in such a way. I always used it only in a technical way. I also appreciated the sincere
Heiner glitch.
On the glasses then, was it?
Hi, Heidi.
Heidi.
Hi. Sorry, I come late and I have to go early. Just coming and say hello and don't want to do this.
Heine, we're still in check-in. And Heine is giving us a tour through Berlin.
Heiner, you can cut off after the word sincere.
That is my fate. But I always reconnect, so it's not really a problem. I just want to say this experience of mental mobility or being a nomad in the streetscapes now and really appreciating the new possibilities to be with you wherever I go. I mean, not on the toilet, but everywhere else, is quite a challenge and an exciting travel.
I'll check in next if nobody else is going. So I came to this, as most of you know, through Daniel, my son, who helped to set it up with Tammy to begin with. And it's been amazing. I'm just become a very important part of my life. And I think I particularly realized that because last Thursday, Tammy was talking about needing to pass on one of the sessions that she's been hosting. And I suddenly got really scared that somehow the whole thing was going to fall apart. And I just realized how much I depend on this group. Well, for me, it's twice a week, Thursday and Sunday, and maybe some odd ones in between. So it's really great to see everybody here today and, you know, such a big turnout, and to realize that other people are just as much committed and involved as I feel I am. And I loved what Tammy said about not knowing, and what Lucy said about being yourself. Those are such important aspects for me. Not knowing what I'm going to say, but trusting that being myself is enough for this group. I wouldn't say, I mean, I haven't learnt 100% trust, I would say. You know, there's still a part of me that somehow, well, is in the process. I've learnt so much from Tammy, particularly about well, how to connect really deeply. Well, and from Doug and from Harry and from Lucy and from Sam, from everybody, actually. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next year, and that process will carry on. Thank you, everybody.
I know, sorry, Erin, I see you're just up here, but I want to acknowledge a couple of things. First of all, William Charlton started this, and he got in touch with Daniel. And then we had a few conversations, and Erin came on board early on as well. And and that's just important to clarify. Neil Davidson was deeply in it at the beginning as well. And on the day of submission is when we found out we had to take almost all of Neil's work out of the proposal. Some of it had been integrated into the proposal itself, but much of it was embedded and encoded in his infographics. And I realized that Daniel needed to step off because he had a bunch of projects upcoming for September, which was the key month for writing the proposal. And so I asked Sam to collaborate because I had his collaborology work, and I was like, yes, exactly the person that can help to hold this. And Sam and I were kind of limping along, and there was some participation, but really it was kind of up to Sam and I to get that proposal together, and he had committed to that together through using his framework of the communication and commitment to collaborate. But the turning point for me was when I knew it would happen was when Anna came on board, and having that third person that was connected, committed, a different perspective, connected to Daniel as well. That was important to kind of close that loop because I knew he was stepping off. But when those things I thought just really important to acknowledge, because it truly happened because specific people came together and committed to each other and put their pieces in together. So I know that I've certainly held a lot of space here and taken a lot of initiative, but this happened without William Charlton, Daniel Harris, Erin, Anna, Sam, and Neil Davidson, who I'm very appreciative to and know he holds great gifts in this space. So he is missed. And with that, I'll just make sure that that's part of those acknowledgements are really important for us to know as a group.
Has everyone else already checked in?
I haven't, but I'll be happy to follow you.
Well, see, Heidi hasn't yet either. But since I'm speaking, let me check in. I actually expected myself to have more prepared notes for today because I wanted to come up with some outline, but I've been quite occupied with other matters in the last 6 weeks. So here's what's coming to me off the cuff. I'm reflecting on the fact that we got brought together, as Tammy says, by the Global Challenges Foundation RFP. And I've never actually let go of the word global. I have let go mostly of this word governance. But it's really more a morphing of that word governance. So the elements that come to me is I'm thinking about what happened in the last year. And do I really believe what we're really saying in the proposal? Hi, Surya. Surya is a friend of mine from way back, by the way. I want to introduce her, but let me do the check-in, and then I'll introduce her, and then she can check in. Okay. So yeah, what I'm doing is we've all been doing check-ins at the beginning of this call. I was late, by the way, but it's a 1-year anniversary of the submission of the proposal to the Global Challenges Foundation. And each of us has been giving reminiscences and reflections on what it means to us, I think, for this anniversary to take place and for us all to be here. So I was just about ready to begin, okay? If I think about those two words, global governance and then the word model, and then I'll talk about people, I notice that whatever we create, whatever we're looking for, whatever the GCF is looking for, is something that can be shared. And I'm looking for, how do we share? We, in this particular group, have videos that are shareable. And I'm still looking for how we most effectively share what we learn, what we experience, what we're trying to be. So that's a small meme for me that will compose as we go. And I've got a few bullet points on this. It must be flexible. It must reflect the ability to learn, to adapt, to survive, to spread, to morph. So I think it needs to be agile. The component needs to be very agile. And the people involved need to be somewhat agile. It needs to scale. What Global Challenges Foundation is looking for is something that will actually make a planetary impact. And that's why, though some of us are actually, I guess, more attached, as I am, to the word scale, some of us are less. But the word global in the GCF to me actually says there's something here that we want to scale. The next bullet I've got is it's got to be human. So much of what we're talking about here is how we learn to interact with each other. And if I go to one of my most fundamental premises about what we're trying to create, I stack up all these 50 to 100 different words that represent value, that represent goodness, that represent principles. You've all been to goodness workshops and success workshops, I suspect. And you're all looked at, words and you're asked to stack rank them. And, do you believe in this versus that? To me, the one that actually needs to be recognized and needs to be almost emphasized above all else is the need to coexist. Because not recognizing that leads to other implications. Now, there's all these attached memes about love, about acceptance, about tolerance, about neighborliness, but it fundamentally comes down to coexistence, which is rooted in an appreciation. And I think that is where this particular group has been exploring quite a lot. And I love that about this particular group. And I want to make it shareable. I really do want to figure out how to share this. I think the videos is just one form. There are so many other forms that we can share this. But that's really key to me, okay? Now the next one is going to trigger some people. It's about technology, okay? Look at what we're doing here in Zoom. Without technology, we'd not be able to have these conversations. I want to actually, first and foremost, bring up as a first-class component that technology allows us to scale, allows us to connect, allows us to communicate, allows us to record, allows us to share. So I think we're just barely beginning to learn how to use technology effectively for all of these different memes. Here's the next one. It's got to be emergent. I think all of us believe that, we're not here. I'm not here, and I don't believe any of you are here to say, I've got the answer, let me impose it on the rest of the world, right? That's an old model, and it just hasn't worked, and it works by power, and it works by corruption, it works by secrecy, it works by deception, it works by ruthlessness, it works by penalties and enforcements, none of which we really, really want in our lives. So I think this emergent quality about what we're trying to create here is so interesting. And it's one of the least well understood ideas, I think. But what we create here, I think, needs to be emergent, as well as all those other things. Okay, so here's the next one that comes closely after coexistence, is love. I once challenged the Doug Engelbart community, the 50th anniversary of the Mother of All Demos community, with the following statement. If you take a look at the beginning of computation, let's say 1950s, till, let's say, 68 approximately, numbers were really what these machines were good at. So you could say it was computation, it was scientific calculation, the language was Fortran, you could do weather prediction, all these sort of things. Those were just beginning to be tried. So if you take a look at the first era or epoch of computation, I would attach the word numbers there. What Doug introduced in 1968 all the way through the present was to replace the word number with the word word, which might actually be transmuted to the word idea. You could actually do word processing finally. And so that then became the basis of innovation for all of computation for the next 5 decades. What I challenge people to think about, starting 2018 and beyond, is what is that word? What does that mean that's going to succeed numbers, ideas? What is that next thing? And I've always had it in the back of my mind ever since I asked people this question in 2013, and I never gave people the answer because I was always curious what their answer was. In my mind, what I always thought was, how could we transform this computing platform from a number processing platform to an idea processing platform to a love processing platform? Okay, I'm not talking about Orgasmatron here, okay? I'm talking about how can we create, sustain, spread a personal attachment that can scale. Not attachment, sorry, forget the word attachment. Personal relationship, bonds, connections. That's what I'm really looking for, okay? Now, you see in social media the beginnings of that, but I don't think it's really supplanted those other two as the paradigm yet. Or maybe by Facebook, you might actually say it has. But anyway, I don't think it's explicitly acknowledged that that is where I think the next epoch of computation needs to go. Let me finish quickly with these 3 more points, okay? It must be flowable. But that what I really mean is we must be able to recognize that we can come together, break apart, come together, break apart as a river with tributaries and little, canals, et cetera, et cetera. And we've got to be able to recognize that that is how we can flow together, okay? It's not necessary, and it can't be, by the way, that I'm participating in every possible conversation in this community. I don't think anybody here has been that way. But we find where we can actually have presence and where we can actually have some expression, and we learn how to navigate all that, and together, it's a pretty mighty flow. And that I'd really like to make explicit. The next one is that all of this together, let me just put them all down, in sequence and then just summarize, because these are just very quick off the cuff ideas. The idea of sharing, the idea of agility, the idea of planetary scale, the idea of humanity, the idea of technology, the idea of emergence, the idea of love, the idea of flowing, and the idea of connection, and fundamentally, the value of coexistence is what I'm really feeling right now and thinking and expressing right now as what GCC means to me. I haven't even started talking about the people here yet that I've met and how special they are and how we actually are learning how to be together. But I've already gone on really, really long. I understand that. I know this is just a check-in, but I wanted to check in with this, okay, because I recognize it's the 1-year anniversary. I wanted to have some quick thoughts on this. And let me talk about the humanity of the GCC later, okay? I'll stop for now, okay? And just one quick note then before I relinquish the floor, and that is, I met Surya, I think it was in 2010 or something, right around there.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's celebration time. You don't have to
Okay, all right. Let me let her. So
Hurry up.
okay, bye for now.
No, vice versa. I said it's celebration time. Take your time to celebrate, not to.
Okay, I misunderstood you, Gertrude. So part of my celebration is I wanted to bring someone I feel is so key in my mind about the kinds of networks and communities she represents. And I feel that the GCC is such a special community to me that the two communities or multiples, you know, represented by the ones that she represents, could really complement and really synergize with each other. And I really feel that very strongly. I've mentioned to many of you here before that, especially some of you who really understand and really express the full chakra meaning, the full chakra connections, the whole humanity idea that we're trying to represent here. I'll let Surya talk about her connections there, but Surya to me represents one of the people in those communities that I think I really want to connect with and really start resonating and co-amplifying with. So, and there's Surya's cat. Is that Leo? I think that's Leo. No, sorry. Anyway, so that's why I invited Surya here. I knew it would be kind of interesting because I know most of us would be mostly participants already, but I wanted to see what would happen if we bring in a new person and have that new person kind of experience us as a 1 year group of people who've been trying to live the way we're talking about. Okay, so anyway, I'll just leave that as the introduction. So hopefully to tease and then let Surya talk more about herself. And very good to see all of you. By the way, I know I missed the session yesterday. I will explain that later on, but for now, I will let that be my check-in. I love you all.
Wow, what an intro, my dear, and amazing to come on a celebration day. My feeling is that I came in late and I want to know who each of you are and feel like I'm excited to be here in a way that I'm going to make the screen so I see you all. There you all are. Sam, I really loved what you said. Where are you? There you are. You're up in my corner. I'll do a brief introduction and just acknowledge that, yes, I just like to introduce who else is in the room. So this is Tigger, and I acknowledge that I as well was late to this celebration. And I feel like what an amazing moment to enter was into what you shared and why I'm here and why it feels important to be here today and what it feels like to actually sink into a conversation that is so a part of my evolutionary perspective around culture for care and how do we actually embed the meme. So I feel like we all are meme talking and technology is us and we're using that technology through the infrastructure. How we, the whole conversation around who is now going to have his own experience, yes. So, social architect, community builder, resonant with this conversation at a fundamental level, hope I may be of service over time. Looking forward to hearing who each of you are as I dive into the center of this celebration circle with your introduction. So thank you for welcoming me and thank you for saying, it's just like, I'm curious who you all are, I have to admit. So I look forward to hearing each of your voices and thank you once again for the amazing truth. I feel like we have to bring all communities together. And I definitely represent these guys. So passing the baton to the next person, I look forward to hearing who you all are, recognizing this is just one aspect of the hub you've been engaged in, Sam, and that I'm just entering into a nodule and how to splash. So, aho. And I'm going to go get actually, I'll take y'all with me, get my coffee. I forgot how instantly Zoom comes on. I have been the one inviting, so I was surprised when I entered with my toothbrush in hand. So, silly me. Oh, yay. Yay. Hi. Fun. Thank you. It's so good to be here. So good to be here.
So just to clarify that actually very few people so far have checked in.
Oh!
I and Tammy have checked in, and Sam, but there's Gertrude and Heidi and Aaron. Jaswinder has checked in, but Harry hasn't checked in. So there's quite a lot to come, so you'll get to know.
Thank you.
I have a question to Surya because I came a little late or I was disconnected. You're a landscape or ecological planner and architect?
Say
Did you
that again.
introduce yourself?
Say that
Are
again.
you an ecological planner or landscape architect?
Oh, cute. No,
What
social,
are you? I
social.
saw the scribbles on the wall.
Oh, cute. I'm a social architect. Those scribbles will actually make sense. So
Okay.
how do you map out human relation and economic motivators in a way that embed the conversation so that the care is embedded in, you know, in our survival top to bottom. There's no separation. So social architecture in
Ich habe gerade Besuch. Hello.
So, see, did that, and that's one piece.
So the reason is Heiner, for like 5 or 6 decades, was a professionally trained architect. He's got multidisciplinary background here, but he was an architect.
Nice, nice. Yeah, well, definitely we need our, yeah. It's very similar. It's very similar. More energetics, so. Heiner.
Okay, I will unmute to check in. And from my side, I'm for the newcomers. I'm Harry van der Velde from the Netherlands, Eindhoven, the Netherlands. I work as a graphic facilitator, so I have a huge whiteboard myself as well. I think in images, and I try to understand the world. And for the last few decades, I became interested in what is a conversation? How do people connect and understand each other? And that's been got me on a journey, on a quest to kind of, I'm sorry to see Aaron drop out. Got me on a quest, and that led me to the conversation experiments with Fleming Funch, and then it led me here to the GCC, and then it led me to the quest of what is global collaboration? How can we do that? And to my surprise, that led me inward into my own journey. Then who am I? And that's been worded here before by others checking in. Can I really be myself with others? Can I show myself? Do I trust myself enough to show up as I am? Can I present myself as I am? And can I be genuine, loyal to myself? So all the distinctions I use to kind of be someone in a certain context. So here I'm a graphic facilitator, there I'm this and there I'm that. They kind of started blending, and now I'm just every day and everywhere trying to be Harry, and still discovering why that is. And that's also, as Heiner would call it, multidimensional, multimodal and all that. So it's just a very current representation of what I am today. So that's me, and looking at the GCC as also an emerging thing that took a total different shape. I thought I approached the GCC very as a technological thing. So can we find structures and patterns and methods to collaborate? And yes, that's helpful, but the main part has become, wow, can I meet you? Do I dare to show myself to you? And can we connect? And from that, can we trust each other to find what we should do, what our unique purpose is as when we combine our efforts? So it's been totally different, and it's lovely. And looking at the GCC as an entity, it's like having a baby indeed. And the baby is now 1 year old and starting to try and stand on its own feet and be independent as an entity, and kind of falling and standing up and struggling. And we've been vague and unstructured and all over the place, and we still don't know where we are, but we are growing, we are evolving. And as just like children, it's such a surprise and such a gift what comes out of it. And with that, I'm complete for the moment.
Thank you, Harry. It was nice to meet you. Thank you. Yay.
I think I can go now. I wish you all a happy first birthday. And I say you because I'm not yet really sure if I belong and how I belong. It's not long that I'm here. So I know many of you also personally, but separately. But as a group, I haven't understood yet how it works, let's say. So sometimes I feel belonging more, sometimes a little less, but that might be my problem. As a check-in for me, I have worked this weekend on the ebook I'm creating for Mark, and I have viewed a lot of photographs also from the Integral Conference, Gertraud, and it took me so, it brings you back into what has already been, and it's really great. I'm so grateful to have found Ken Wilber 20 years ago and found a guideline for viewing the world in a way which is more complete and more, more clear, more easily do distinctions and discriminations, and not getting a little bit out of the model, which otherwise it's all so together. So for me, this sort of mindset is also enabling groups like us in many ways. So, and I hope we will go ahead and integrate that even more. To me, yesterday I told people, and most of you didn't know, I came to Italy because I studied Italian opera, and I'm an opera singer, but I never really made a big career, but I did a lot of concerts on stage, and that helped me then to teach and get earn my living by teaching and directing choirs and so on, and later on be on stage, for instance, for doing in the conference a talk. Because it's not easy. I realize that it's difficult to come out of invisibility, and only lately I go into even more visibility, because when you are on the stage, you normally have learned something and then you just produce it, but it's not really you on the stage. And yesterday Harry said we should just write blogs about, let's say, journaling, what we would write in our journal, publish it to the public. And this I found really challenging, because, I'm quite open. When you see my broadcast, I'm doing the Wisdom Factory broadcast. We have done, 300 public conversations. And I'm saying a lot about myself, but, even writing every little thing and publish it, we will see, Harry. So I'm preparing the next season, which begins in October 24th, about conscious living and conscious dying. And I think death and dying is completely a taboo still with so many people, and I will do my best. It was Mark's baby first, but I will also continue to do my best to break this taboo a little bit and bring the topic into the world, even risking that a few people who participate, but who wants to participate, then at the end, I think they will have a benefit. I hope so. And as Harry said, it's not important how many people read your stuff, but who will read it and who will attend, they want to have exactly that. So I trust in that. And thanks, Harry, for the... So, and tonight I will have at 7 o'clock a recording with the daughter of Mark and the husband of his other daughter who died 5 years ago. And I will have that part of the series, but we didn't want to do it live because, you know, it might be too personal sometimes, and I might have to work on it on the video and not publish everything. So I will get out 10 minutes or 15 minutes before the hour. Thank you. So far, me.
Heidi, so I might go next.
In I think in how many hours? 3 hours? 4 hours? We do this exercise with Harry and Doug, trying to go into grasping, groping, and grokking. So maybe your session finished at 10 o'clock European time. Anyway, thank you for telling me about Canada and your deepest into them. I was aware.
Ja, het gaat bieden.
I would like to go. Yes. So yeah, great to see you, and thank you for sharing. And I'm in the middle of Germany, north of Frankfurt. And I would like to go next after Heidi, because Heidi is the reason why I am here. So I know her first from all of you, 2014 or so, when we got our intravenous Ken Wilber course. So a 10-week, every week 3 sessions, almost like here. Really, really intense. And so to process it, to digest it, we created a weekly call with several people. Mark and Heidi were there. And yeah, that was really supportive to really grasp the material and have some people in it that are in this journey for 20 years already. So, and then there was, so Heidi is the reason why I'm here. And Heidi and Tammy, we met at one of the last sessions of the Unity and Diversity group, where we did an appreciative inquiry process over, I don't know, 3 months or so, starting online with appreciative interviews, and then having the Integral Conference 2016, the middle section, so the dreaming, painting a picture with a dream picture with 20 people, and processing the third part, writing poem together and things like that. So, and coming back for implementing for the Destiny phase online, because there were people like Ben. Ben was our partner. We were 5 people, 1 from New Zealand, 1 from France, 1 from the States. Ben was here last week, and he invited us to that other conference And having done this, it was so deep. The interviews were so deep. And knowing that people can take on, even if they didn't take part in the first part. So there were different people at different stages coming up, and Tammy was in the last session. And we were the last people standing. Anna, no, it was you, Heidi, and I. And then we said, okay, let's do Women Matters. So we started a call, just girls, just women, once a month with different people, but Tammy, Heidi, and I are always there. And then I had another stream where, with one of the integral people, we wanted to go to that global challenge thing as well, but we failed somehow because the other people didn't show up, and I was not the one who could create the whole thing, and so it was kind of fading away. And in one of the Women Matters calls, I told Tammy, or I told everybody, and Tammy said, come to us. So I was very late in that process, but I was like thinking about it for some time, and it was so similar what you came up with, what Elke and I talked about before. So I just came in the very last few days to do the proofread and to just do some editorial work and talking about it. And that's how I landed here. So it's this interconnectedness. I just thought, what this global, scalable, this is the integral community, agile community, appreciative inquiry, reinventing organizations, all this came together. And today I was just watching, before I came in, the Global Citizen Festival, just this feeling, there's so many people, and it doesn't matter when you show up. It's present time. So this is what it needs. And sorry, I just wanted to say how many things weave into that. So, and I think I just talk about my stuff, but each and everyone has his, her interwoven things, and it matters. So I have hot cheeks, and I'm so, I don't know how I could say that, but I don't think about the recording when we are together. It's being us together, and then there is, okay, it's recorded, but I think the way we do that makes it possible. And I would ask Sam, okay, you put it in. And I think we, beyond the technicals and everything that Sam, I really resonate with, we have to create places in which that can happen, no matter where, with whom. So, complete.
So I came in, I think, right on the heels of the actual submission. So I didn't have any real anchoring or connection to that. My connection started with the folks still standing after the submission, looking at each other going, okay, what do we do now? and and for me, at that point, my question that I was pursuing wherever the opportunity presented was, how do we do us differently and better? And I think I got what I asked for. But I do want to make some attribution comments. Tammy, in her check-in, said that what she sought was, people willing to come together and go on record authentically as themselves. And so, in terms of a summoning, manifesting exercise, I want to thank her for projecting that, because you got what you asked for, which is a whole bunch of people coming together willing to be recorded and on the record, and pushing boundary. And for me, shifting from humans doing to humans being was the sort of high hurdle and challenge. And after walking around the desert for about a decade, thinking about that, and then engaging in these kinds of generative conversations as the growth medium from which learning how to do us differently was going to come. That is what I think the last year has been about. And I think pretty much everybody that's touched here, that sort of stayed in the game, and didn't, out of frustration, go, well, let me know when you guys are ready to do something. And by the way, I don't think those people are lost. They're just waiting. I don't think their devotion or connection is diminished because they keep popping in to check on whether we're doing anything or not. So they're experiencing some kind of pull, which is a good thing. But I think what I've experienced is that on a co-created basis, we come together and we consistently and solidly and resiliently create a container and a field of connection and affection and knowing by and between us that's really, really, really powerful. And it's a co-creation in real time, each time. And no two are identical. And the ebbs and flows and energies are always changing, and the themes and subjects, memes and challenges are always changing. And the exploration and depth of inquiry and curiosity is always pretty consistent. And it's a monumental accomplishment and unique. And to Sam's point about, how do we propagate this? I think and acknowledgement of the emergent. I'm not sure propagating it is something we do. I think it's something we embody. And to the extent we learn new tricks and new ways of being and levels of depth and connection here, at least for me, what I am and what I bring and what I be here is what I be out in the world. And so each one of us is sort of an agent of the change that we would bring to the world. So on a certain level, I suspect it sort of holds the potential to be self-propagating. All we have to do is sort of fog up the mirror in the morning and go about our business from the place we're now doing it, if that makes any sense. At least that's my experience of it for me. And I bring that orientation into half a dozen different conversational groups, contexts, assemblages every week, and into my other work, one-on-one and project and coaching and consulting. And so it's a gift and something I'm hugely grateful for, that this is created 4 times a week, now 5 times a week with Heiner's Sunday special barn raising editions. And I think Tammy made a call for sprouts. And I suspect that may start to happen more going forward, where, as people stretch arms and legs, any one of us can convene and call for a conversation, can call for an audience, can call for an opportunity to share and express and publish what they see and what they're feeling and what they know in their hearts and have emerging in their heads. So I think it's borderline miraculous and awesome. And I know my face and energy may not project my level of excitement because I'm still coming off the back end of something that knocked me on my ass for the last week. But yeah, I really think this is pretty much the cat's meow of human beings being together. And in that, I think we're fully realized and perhaps unprecedentedly so, without it being anchored or attached to any particular special language, secret handshake, established epistemology, doctrine, or other ways. And I think it's really extraordinary. And with that, I'm complete.
I don't know whether anybody has any particular thing that they want to bring today, but I had a really interesting experience on the weekend. I was away on the weekend with some friends, and if there aren't other things that people would like to bring, I would be interested to talk about this a bit.
I would like to hear about your weekend.
Okay. So this is a guy that I met probably 6 or 7 years ago and have been friendly with. He has a partner who was born with cerebral palsy and is in a wheelchair. And her condition is very slowly deteriorating. He is into theater. He's ebullient. He's constantly talking. He's very sociable. He goes up to anybody and talks to them. She is very quiet. Actually, she really surprised me this morning. At breakfast, she was demonstrating a song that she'd learned in sort of Cornish language or Cornish accent. And she suddenly came up with it because they were talking about how they'd performed it. And there she was, sort of in full voice, reciting this, actually it was a poem. So it was a very different side of her. And why I'm interested to talk about it is because I have often felt very critical of the way that he seems to dominate her, because she is so helpless. Certainly appears to be physically in need of a lot of help. She can sort of shuffle around with the help of a walker, but basically she has to be helped to do everything. And they've now started living together. He went down to Cambridge to look after her, and she's going to come and move in with him, bring her up to into Bradford, near where I live. So I was tussling with this impression that I had that somehow he just sort of bosses her around, and he'll constantly talk to her as though he's sorting out his whatever it is he's going to do, and she just says, yeah, right, yeah, because it isn't really, there isn't a real conversation going on, although there could be.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
How much support does he have to support her?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, I would have asked him something, the same sort of thing, because during the space of this weekend, I began to see how much he was doing for her, and how he has to cope with the fact that she has started having epileptic fits and blackouts, and
I have another question.
right.
How much time in a day does he spend with her?
All the time.
There's no way that he couldn't be in a reactionary state. In order for him to not act that way with her, he needs to have support and time away and to metabolize. There's no way for a human being to not, and it's a whole conversation around community and parenting and support and all of the above. And he is doing the best that he can. And I'm sure he doesn't enjoy becoming that thing either. Just honoring. And this is how do we build out community hubs in ways we can socially relate, because isolation is what we're coming from. And these deep conversations help us to connect, but we're still relearning how to grow our community and tribe. So there's just honoring his commitment to bringing her up and what that means for his life. I asked a question and started speaking, so I saw thumbs up, so I just kind of started to cascade.
Well, the occasion of this meeting was, or the occasion of me going, they invited me to come and stay for a couple of nights in the cottage, which he has rented for the whole week in the Dales. And this is the third time they've been in this cottage. So he really makes sure, you know, that she has these experiences, that he takes her to places, and he invited a whole load of his friends to come round. So there were like 12, 15 people who came during the day yesterday, and friends that he's made in the theatre. And over time, I think he worked for a while in a job centre, so there were some old friends from that too. Yeah, I agree with you that it would be great for him to have some support. Yeah, I suppose I was more looking at it from the point of view of how easy it is when you see a relationship from the outside. They've known each other 30 years. So they've been an item for 30 years, but they haven't actually lived together until a couple of years ago. And now she's going to be moving in with him, I think, because she really can't manage on her own. But up to now, she has sort of resisted moving in with him.
Anna?
Yeah.
I thought where you were going, or where you were starting to share, was that there was some kind of a question or judgment coming up for you of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you
exactly.
share more about what that was about, what that's about?
Okay, just to be really open with how I judge him, I see him as incredibly self-centered, and he talks about other people being very self-centered. So, you know, he knows what self-centered is. Like, for example, when she was singing this morning, he started singing directly afterwards and shifted the attention to him. And I managed to get it back to her because I wanted to ask her about the poem and how, you know, the whole chord connection and the words and so on. So yeah, I feel very judgmental towards him and very protective of her. I somehow feel that he takes advantage of her. But there is such an intense love between these two. Sam, are you wanting to say something?
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but this is a recorded session, and part of our protocol has been to check and see whether there's a session here that you would like to have not on the record. And I wanted to check and see if that was the case.
And Heine, did you want to say something too?
Yes, I was very touched with what Zoya said and what you said, because this socio-cultural, humane, human system design is what are our commons? How can our suffering be? I'm with this lady, she's a good friend, she has ALS since 30 years. She cannot communicate only with writing with her eyes. She cannot dress, she cannot move a muscle. And we just had not only 6 weeks exhibition with her on brain painting and brain dancing, but how her family, and now I'm coming back, and how her children, how her husband, how all these other patients are managed. She is in 24 hours care, day and night. I mean, this is where I see this is a star high goal. And sometimes when you're in the deep shit and want to sing, maybe he wants to sing in the right thing. And maybe he wants to sing Streets of London. So maybe sometimes cannot see it from outside. Maybe you can do it in between and have a socio-cultural community designer to really bridge the suffering and the happiness.
Yeah, and to add to the mix, I left my partner with cancer after years of isolation. I think that's I love the word that Surya brought to the. I just can't handle it on my own anymore. And by a lack of support, I started to go down the drain as well. So I decided to leave because there was nobody else to help me. Her.
And what do you need? And having in mind what Sam asked.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly, Sam talked about this coexistence, and I was thinking about,
Excuse.
Sorry? Sam talked about coexistence, and it just hit me how I had been judging him. And Sam, I know you also talked about whether it's okay to talk about this couple on this, but I don't feel that it's my problem really that I'm looking at rather than them. Yeah.
Yeah, that was what I was getting, you were raising your judgment of him in the context of their relationship, that it's not about them as much as it's about that judgment.
Yeah.
Do you forgive yourself for that judgment now?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess I'm finding that quite difficult because, yeah, it just opened my eyes this weekend, really. I also feel I just don't understand love. I think he totally adores her. He loves her. But his way of loving, you know, he's actually just doing everything for her, and that's his way of loving. I don't know quite why I shared it. It's very much with me at the moment, this relation.
Feels really appropriate, Anna, given what we were all saying at the beginning, you know, about the support that we get from each other and why this group is so important to all of us. Feels like it's exactly the thing which is present in that situation, that, you know, life is hard at times if somebody's ill, and we don't have enough of these connections and networks and support, and that's a real struggle to be in the situation that he's in. Well, I guess for both of them, you know, there's different parts to it. When you said about love, knowing what love is, this old guy that I talked about at the beginning, who I just met this afternoon, told me about his wife, and he was talking about, what did he say to me? He said, love is something I can't describe to her. I can't tell his relationship with her. They'd have to experience it. And that kind of feels like appropriate, that maybe from the outside we look at something and think, oh, well, that's not what love should look like. But we could never know. We'd have to be in that like magic space between those two people to really understand what's there. And yeah.
I would like to check out, because I have to go to this topic. I think that the helpers are completely under-supported, and that there would be needed a social network about those people, because they are judged when they get burnout, because that is judged as not love or something like that. But it's really difficult to be there for a person who is in big trouble.
Thank you.
Physically and psychologically. Yeah, I could begin to, for instance, when we know somebody is in these conditions in our neighborhood, we could sometimes go there and offer our help, something like this. Because I had it with Mark only 3 months that he was really in bad conditions. But I sometimes said, I don't know how long I can make that. If it had taken a year or two, I don't know if I could have done that. And in what before, and he chose to go away when he was sort of good still. But I know that other people are not, and they need help. And how many people die alone in the hospital with all the tubes everywhere, and the relatives and family don't go there because they fear the topic death. And they, you know, I think there would be a lot of us, everyone individually, to inspire others to not fear this, and at least for some hours go and just hold the hand. You don't to talk or whatever, but be there and listen, or be there. So yeah, that's my last 5 cents. And now I will start death and how to accompany dying people again with my case. Bye-bye.
Bye, Heidi.
Thank you, Heidi.
You know,
I'm still not sure Anna, what you need and what kind of support you need. I mean, you said I know that how much I'm judging, but there is something beyond that.
Well, actually, I think I'm getting it, whatever it is that I needed, because I've never really understood why I've kept in touch with this guy and his partner. And I think one of the reasons is he gets a lot from me. He constantly says how much he appreciates my being there and my to him. So on some wavelength, we in tune, and maybe he gets some support from me. And somehow it's also becoming clearer how much he needs support. So, and the fact that they're going to be moving not that far from me means that is, you know, I could actually keep in touch and make sure that that I do offer that support more.
So I have a question. How risky are you prepared to be in relation to him around the thing that you're experiencing and feeling, the judgments that's coming up for you? Because I think if you unpack it and you separate how he's being from what he's doing, and you don't give a pass on how he's being because of what he's doing, then giving him the feedback you're experiencing might be really valuable to him and something he's never heard from anybody before. And so, I think being that honest with people in a situation that, circumstantially or a setup to never provide that opportunity can be really scary and risky, but it could be in service to him in a big way, and ultimately in service to her.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I am fairly straight with him. When I see him separately from her, I can be fairly upfront about whatever it is that I'm feeling. When I'm together with them and he is talking, he constantly looks to her and talks to her while he's going over, and he repeats over and over things. It might have also been particularly intense because he might have been nervous about this gathering that was happening, but there were several times when he went out and I left with his partner, and we both said, "Oh, thank goodness," just that, I could commiserate with her. I think I'm following her lead. I don't know how much she can risk being upfront with him. Maybe she can, but I don't know what their really intimate relationship is like. For example, he told me that he bought a hat, a sort of rather cocky hat, and she said to him, "That's not appropriate in this little English village where they were, they had hired this cottage for a week. You know, not to wear that hat. He had to get a flat cap and something more sort of in, and it was her who pointed it out to him. So I don't know how much she is sort of actually more in charge than appears to be. But there is, yeah, how risky am I prepared to be? It's a good point. What I felt, what I feel with her, and I said that to him this morning, I don't know how, because he's always encouraging her ostensibly to have her own opinions. And I said, I don't know how much she can afford to have her own opinions, because she's so grateful to be looked after by him.
That's shocking what you're saying, Anna.
I know, but that is the whole.
So if you're taken care of, you have to be great. You cannot be yourself anymore.
No, I'm not saying have to, but that could just be. They were talking about how when they first met, which is like 30 years ago, and that she really didn't feel that she was going to get a boyfriend because of her disability, because she was born with cerebral palsy down one side of her. So she was incredibly grateful when he came along. But you're picking up the flavor of the thing that I've been tussling with, this, you know, when somebody is so disabled, how can they afford to be themselves? But then that also goes over into this thing that Sam pointed out about talking about other people when they aren't present. So yeah, it's how much do I identify with that? And generally, he knows me for somebody who speaks my mind and will, you know, sort of make jokes about the fact that I am quite openly critical of him. So, yeah, I don't know.
Sam, go first.
And I heard Doug ask a question which really hits me at heart. The question is, how risky are you prepared to be in this support system? For me, that hits home because it's easy to say yes in the beginning. And when it gets really hard, really hard, it's not as easy to say no. And some of you were here hearing me talk about this 4 or 5, whatever number of weeks ago, about the issues, similar to this, that I'm facing. And in fact, part of why I was not in the barn raising call yesterday is that for me, I'm trying to figure out whether I can be the ugly person that says no. And there's a part of me that says I don't say no because that would be hypocritical to the kind of society I want to live in. But if I don't say no, I'm going to die. Many good parts of me are going to get killed off by this relationship. So that question from Doug meant a lot to me. And I'm not here to lecture about it. I'm just saying it struck home for me because it's a difficult decision that I'm facing right now. Over.
I'm facing in these families at the moment where the children are caring for their mother or for their father 20 years or whatever. And this is such a heavy thing because the mother, for example, is locked in and the children are supposed to help and help and help and help. And this, to care for these young children is such a thing. When you talk about this, I always try to go away because I think we should happiness and really watch out for the infliction of suffering. But when it is there, it's everywhere. This cancer or ALS, these designs like cultural diseases, and we don't know yet where it's coming from, but it's really spinning off like virally. Very, very much more and more people have this unknown, and it's really a nightmare. So when I just close my eyes,
Anna, do you want more input, or is it? For me, you have the lead. What do you want, and what you just? I would like to add something.
Please do add.
First of all, what Surya came up with, I think that's very important to look what is there to in the community to support, and I think there are should be some organizations, some, I don't know, from the national health system or whatever, to find out about that. And something that came up to me was like not so much speaking your mind or saying, so how risky do you want to be? That's one part, but I think maybe before it's about asking the questions, what is it that you want to, or more like, why is he talking like this to her? Why is he doing these things? So it's, for me, it's more kind of an inquiry to understand more. What I realized, I had an ALS friend who died within very short time, and so I went there every week to support him, but he had a pregnant wife who nursed him first, and then she couldn't, and they brought in. It was a nightmare for her, and also some diseases change the character of the person. So that's some things they wouldn't have done before, now do, or in a way they, I don't know, self-centered or whatever. So I think external help is crucial. And maybe you, since you're in the document, you have 10 pages of appreciative questions in front of you that you can just choose from and try to find out more. So to come from that non-judgmental way, it doesn't mean you couldn't say what you feel, but yeah, to get more of what is that, and maybe it's possible in front of both, because then you don't they don't feel judged. There's just somebody who really wants to understand. That's what came up for me.
Yeah, he told me this morning, actually, that he had received a letter from somebody who goes to the same church as he does, who had more or less expressed very much what I was feeling about the fact that he was dominating this woman, and they felt uncomfortable with it. So he told me about this letter and said, I don't know how they could have got that impression. And he was shocked that they had thought that. Yeah, so.
Okay, and then what did you say?
I didn't say anything, I just received the information. Because at that point, this was the sort of, you know, I was trying to figure out where my judgment, I could see there is huge love there that this man has for his partner. And I had made that same judgment, but I wasn't sure anymore that I was seeing it right. It felt to me like I wasn't appreciating how this love can be expressed in so many different ways, because it's obvious that he is also supporting her. Well, so this goes back to what Doug was saying about not excusing it, because I think that's what you meant, Doug, not because he is also giving her the support, but somehow being able to see that clearly, even so. Tammy.
One thing that strikes me that you talked about, that how much he appreciates you in his life. So there's something that you're bringing with your frankness and the way that you care and the way that you show up that he's thirsty for. And my, part of what I sense is that clarity that you have in coming from your truth is really appreciated. And leaning into Sam's thing of how much will you risk, how much can you risk being ever more owning of your, okay, I have this judgment. I mean, if you own that, that's not, now it's an open question whether the judgment is, you're not coming with, well, this is what I see, but rather this is my experience. And
right.
That he appreciates what's in there that you can sense, or ask him to be clear about what, how you and he want to be in relationship together, and her, but what is the support he's really needing, and what does he appreciate about what you're bringing? Because it's a big thing to invite someone for a weekend into their intimate life.
Yeah.
I just also on the being risky. I never volunteered that stuff without asking first whether somebody is interested in hearing it. So you know, I think actually most of the one-on-ones that I've had with folks from this community that have launched significant and profound relationships and friendships and connections that I feel, a lot of you, started with me asking that question and sharing things that I was feeling. So, you know, I've never had anybody say no, parenthetically, but it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, I do remember that there was one occasion when I was obviously feeling this quite intensely. And I sort of tried to express it, but I think it came out quite angry. And it was sort of to do with feeling that she was just his sidekick. That was the sort of impression that, you know, this was his big act, and she was just there to sort of, yeah, be his sidekick. That's a bit what it looks like sometimes. And it didn't go down well at all, as you can imagine.
I was curious because of how all of the conversation is around unpacking and the depth of communication, just really honoring how I am getting to know you and the group, and really honoring the witnessing process of each voice. So from that, finding my own, like, seeing my questions come, and then around the anniversary of the 1 year piece that you spoke to when I first came in, and how like, for me, the thing is that they're coming more closely to you. They're going to be more in your neighborhood. And really, when we get involved with people so deeply, that the archetypes and the information and our understanding of how we support. And so for me, it's like how to support you in having a groundedness of how much to give that's healthy for you, and modeling that health. Because that's, I think, where right relationship comes in, and to support that healthy way from the inside, and seeing that our world doesn't always have that capacity. And that takes me to Sam and what it is to scale, and what would be a level of supporting this conversation that each of us have in different ways, to find that celebration of co-creation so that we each are in right relationship. And so that was kind of my long shortened. And honoring, I don't know, do we have a time limit on this? I don't, I'm aware, you might have noticed I woke up with a slight headache. It almost had me not come on today, and I just am really glad that I came, but I'm also curious, because I'm just curious of timing in mind and being able to know that.
We generally are scheduled loosely for 2 hours, and to be mindful of people's time, we're at 2 hours. But it's not a hard stop if people are moved to keep going, and it can also be a stop if people, you know, are getting to a place of completion. We could do wrap up. Share.
Individuals do opt in, opt out.
Yeah, we can do wrap up shares from everybody at this point, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I was also saying each individual also exercises opt-in, opt-out. And since this is also the anniversary and we have few more people than the normal, the recording I've set up just to keep going. So nobody needs to feel like they need to stay out for the whole time. But I I think we've barely begun the conversation, actually.
That's part, yeah.
I think
I'm feeling
that because we did not even have Josh. Josh is already gone. Dave didn't introduce himself. And I must say I was introduced wrongly. I'm not an architect. I'm not, but that we can discuss afterwards. Where is the next session then?
I would like to ask Anna if that's complete enough for you for today, or do you need something before we wrap up or before people just leave?
No, for me, that is a lot. It's plenty for me to be getting on with. Thank you. But I also do have, for some reason, I feel this has stirred up things for Harry, actually, and I'm wondering if he is okay.
Yes, I'm okay. I lived this, and I think the best contribution is basically the idea put forward by Surya. We are the current day society, the industrial frame, as Doug likes to call it, has all put us in boxes. And all those core families, just one woman, one man with their children, all isolated, and hence very easy to exploit by the powers that be. And we need to reconnect in a more natural way, with a more multidimensional, as some might want to call it. So we need friends, families, parents, grandparents, and all kind of to reconnect. It's all about reconnecting in a natural way, and we had forgotten this. So personally, I'm fine, and I like the conversation. It's all about, okay, we need to relearn this in a new context, because we can't go back to the past. So we have to learn to connect here. And what are we doing here? Connecting with the new technology. This is a rather intimate group, and I hardly have seen anybody in real life. Like last summer, I met Tammy with all due consequences. That's awesome. And I've seen Tammy in real life, and I hope to see Heiner shortly. And the more we meet on Zoom, and the more we connect here, and the more we dare to be ourselves and share ourselves, the stronger the connections become. And I think that's living the future. But personally, I'm fine. Thank you for asking, Anna.
And how about you, Sam?
I think I'm probably less than fine, because a situation like this brings out my ugly side, brings out my angry side, brings out my impatient side. And I can go into self-control, because I know how to do this, but I find myself letting myself be angry. And that's something I don't like being pushed into, quote unquote, okay, taking the victim vernacular. And yet, it's very difficult to experience. So some of you recall the details of what I spoke about. I'm just going to speak in generalities here right now, because I think this is on the recording. But I'm in a situation where I really do have to decide.
Or do you want us to stop the recording?
No, I would like the recording to go. This is a good conversation, and I don't want to have it be chopped up. But I do think that for me, the choice is, how do I still maintain my own sanity, my own balance, my own serenity, while at the same time being so close to someone who is hurting, who is lashing out, who is at times violent, verbally at least, emotionally, if not actually physically, although at times in the past, it's come close. And to know that the vision I have for the kind of place I want to live in, the global village that I want to live in, to me, doesn't mean that I abandon her. I would like to see her with stronger connections, not just to me, but to other people. Right now, she doesn't have that. And I would like to be able to support and be in relationship without being so angry, without being so triggered, without being so impatient, and without hours and hours and hours of days being spent on this. So that's why I'm really trying to choose. You know, a long time ago, I was completely convinced that, you know, life is not about being happy. You know, that's, to me, a very old notion of what living is about. I think there's a different, more meaningful sense to living. And I think it's about the kind of society we want to live in, the kind of connections we want to have, the kind of relationships, the kind of love that we can express. And much of that comes with difficulty. And in fact, if it doesn't come with difficulty, we're probably not doing enough. And so I'm trying to ask myself, am I doing enough, or am I at my limit? Or is that limit compelling me to do things that I find ugly in myself? So those are all the things that kind of come up for me. So sorry to take a very simple question, Gertrude, and turn it into a long answer.
Sam, may I?
Please.
If I see the situation in which I can feel into, and I see what's been brought into the group, that is, it's not about who, if you are kind of surviving this, but how can you receive support from, for instance, very practically people like us. We are a virtual community. I think you need a hug, and I'm too far away to give it to you. But we are here to, But we are here the kind of support we can give. So would you have any idea how we can help you?
I don't know what I think. You know, one of the most helpful things just in today's call is to know that there are many such instances of this. Harry, I know you lived through this. Anna, you're seeing this now. And just the way our societies have been set up, fewer and fewer people have the strong connections and strong care that really allows them to survive and thrive and be healthy. So it's very tenuous for each person where they get that support from. So I'm finding, you know, the more I talk about this, the more people I encounter with similar situations. You know, there's a family 27 miles away where the husband is getting deeper and deeper into alcoholism. And it's, you know, a horrible situation, and guy cannot control himself. Talk about alcoholism, that hits close to home for me also. So anyway, I think just inquiring about it brings up many more instances than I was previously aware of, where this dynamic of giving care or receiving care and of it being difficult at times and really taking some new skills, some new energy, some new perspectives to be able to deal with in a healthy way. That already, I think, is helpful, if I might just say one thing. But clearly there's many other things, and I'm just barely scratching the surface here. I'm not an expert in this area, so that's what comes to mind. Thanks, Harry.
Lucy, you had something?
I'm not sure whether it was I wanted to speak or just saying, you know, like me too. But when I was, how old would I have been? I was 19. I cut off contact with my father. He was an alcoholic. He had many problems. I think he had PTSD and And I tried for years to try and understand the problem that he had, to try and be some kind of support and get him to realize the damage he was doing to his daughters and his family. And at a point, it was realized that I have to cut this connection, because if I don't, I'm going, and that's an extremely hard, you know, whether it's a romantic or a parent, it's a very hard decision to make, to cut that. But I think we all have a limit, and we pay attention to that, and we need to respect that. We shouldn't push past what we're able to carry, and it's okay to do that. In some situations, you know, I'm not saying in yours or in mine either, in situation, I think that is the most loving thing to do for ourselves, and maybe for that other person, is to say, you know, okay, I've done enough, and now it's the end of the road. And yeah, I don't know if that's helpful or not, but you're far from alone in the general kind of situation. And I wasn't around for this call where you talked a bit more about what's been going on, but I've picked up things that you've said now and again, and I don't know much about your situation, but what I can feel into what you've shared in the past is that you are an extremely loving and caring person, and you extend far beyond what the typical partner has maybe done, in the way you look at, you know, you love this person, you want to support them, and you want to be there, and you don't want to jump ship when it gets hard. Yeah, it's very obvious to me, Sam, that you have a really huge capacity for that you're doing. So I don't know where this journey takes you, but yeah, that's all I have to say.
And maybe to reinstate the invitation for her to our call. Tammy and Anna and Lucy, we had invited her to our call. So this is an open invitation.
You'll get a deep glimpse into the ugly Sam.
It's not ugly.
Bring it on, Sam.
I'm torn apart because I told you that by midnight I need to finish that that paper, and I should have gone 1.5 hours ago, but I just want to say thank you, and it's so great to celebrate our first anniversary with your question, Anna. I think that's appropriate to who we became. And so I thank you all. And I want to mark it in your calendar for next year, May 11th. This is, we will celebrate our 22nd anniversary, the marriage anniversary, and we are together 33 years, 22 married, and so there are 11 in between. So we thought, why wait for silver winning? And you're all invited, whoever can make it.
There,
I would love to have you there. So this is set. I already booked the cabin where it happens.
Wohin sollen wir kommen?
Nach Buzek. Buzek. This is in the middle of Germany. Where take east, north, south, east, west. Just in the middle. Landing port is Frankfurt.
May I, on this anniversary, also then say, let's plan early for the second anniversary? I plan, if I have any means to be here in this house still 1 year from today, I plan on hosting as many of you as could come here to Kamano Island. And I'm giving you 365 days to plan in advance. I don't want time to be an excuse. You fly into Vancouver or Bellingham or Seattle. Seattle's probably the closest one.
So I really need to go, and I love you all. It's really 1 year with you all, and thank you for being in my life.
Good luck with your writing.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Lots of love.
Yeah, love to you.
Get some sleep, Gertrude. Thanks. Actually,
I just wanted to, our Dave Tex Smith is here, and we haven't really given you a chance, and Josh has joined and hasn't really had a chance to step in the circle. And I just wanted to acknowledge Dave for the care that he has given his mother, because he was in that place of taking care of his mother for quite some time. It was a big part of how I came to know Dave, is in that really selfless caretaking mode, which is part of what it's just. I just wanted to really give that a little bit of daylight for you, Dave, and welcome.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm trying to talk quietly because everybody in the house is fast asleep, and we've got a bunch of Airbnb people staying just down the hall. Sorry to miss Heine's kickoff on this. I think that was part of today's session, was it?
Later, that's in 3 hours, 2.5.
Yeah. There you go. At least I made it to this. And thanks for acknowledging the mother care, but I've spent my whole life probably caring for people who are disabled people, my own children, and then my mum, and that was probably the hardest part of it. And so when I think about this group and this group of people, although I haven't made very many sessions over the last 6 months, just because of time, really, time zones. This is probably the only place where the conversations can go this deep, and the relationships can build up, and often not collectively as this group, but then you get to see into individuals and know something of them, and so yourself become a very important person for me, because I knew I could talk about anything and have somebody who was understanding and wise at the other end, and then with others that I've since developed relationships outside of this group, and not just about work, about actually caring for each other. And then there's others that I really want to meet. And this is funny because this is my last week of living here in Arlington. I only came here to look after my mum 3 years ago. And I don't know where I'm going to be next week. It's all going to be up in the air, hop and drive, but I will be online. And the whole intention of that is to carry on this work that we've started, and I guess this group has been something of a catalyst for that, or it's going to be something that's going to enable that to grow. So this is, although I haven't been here very much, this is such an important group. And maybe it hasn't kind of shaped the way that we might have expected with the collaboration. We didn't, maybe in some ways we haven't ticked certain boxes of this proposal that was first generated, but it shaped itself in other ways that can't be just written up in words and tick boxes. That's far more rich, and it's going to continue for the lifespan of the members in this group, I think. You know, we're going to be a bunch of old people sitting around with dementia wondering who these other people are. That's going to be, maybe we need to build a little retirement village. But anyway, thank you, Tammy. That's enough for me. I'm trying to work out what you're all talking about, so yeah. And Sam, yeah, I'm heading to your place too.
I need to go, but it's been a pleasure. So, and really appreciate and honor and value all the unwinding and unpacking, and each of you, and Tammy, and lovely to meet. So thank you, Sam, for inviting me.
I'm glad you're able to join us. So yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And meeting the rest of my friends.
A good hub.
Yeah, honor to meet you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing a bit more about your work, because it seems very centrally very interesting to see what we're doing through the lens of your work.
I would love to share. I was seeing that too, and so I look forward to that ability and moment. Yes. Blessings. Thank you, Tammy. And Lucy. Smile. And those I didn't hear the voices of. So, so anyway, it's hard to say goodbye, Harry. It's true. It's true. That's what that, I can feel the gravitational pull. So. Wait, it's not leaving. I thought I said leave. I'm leaving now.
Just doing a quick check-in and let you know, Sam, 1 year from now is going to be New Year's for Rosh Hashanah. So just letting you know, be a great New Year's party. And good to see you, Dave. I actually came in, I was thinking, is this Heiner's meeting? What's on? So I just talked to Heiner. He said it's in 2.5 hours. So I get to come back and listen to that. But I just checking in. Great to see everyone. And I met a really interesting gentleman who posted on the GCC, I think it was Friday night. And he posted about an app that he wants to start, and it looked a lot like an advertisement. So I was a little skeptical. But his name is George Lincom. He's an American who's living in Seoul, Korea. And his primary goal is to create an app called What's Happening. And it's very interesting. He's a really nice person. And I think he said he mentioned that he talked to you, Dave. And I thought that was wonderful. And yeah, it's just really nice to know there are really passionate people out there working on global collaboration. And I'll let him come in here at some point and talk about his app, because he's quite the talker and very passionate about. Mostly it's from having a long 2-hour talk with him yesterday, what came out of it was more of the human connection. And a lot of what you talk about, Doug, is making sure things are he calls it the fourth industrial revolution, aka the singularity, aka the information age, whatever you want to call it, but making sure it's about people and it's centered on actual humans. And I was talking to him about what Dave and I talk about a lot, is making sure that not just the people are taken care of, but Mother Earth and all the little critters on the earth are taken care of. And he said, it's funny you say that, because in Seoul, South Korea, they are working on getting the rights for Mother Earth and creating a legislature for that, as Ecuador has done. And I think that's a really interesting thing. I would love to talk with the group at some point about, yes, humans are important, but if humans are sitting around without the rest of nature working, it's going to be a miserable time for the humans. So I feel like we should take care of each other and our needs, but maybe first we could take care of Mother Earth, and that could be more of a conversation. So, and I'm sure it's a little close to my heart living in nature. So I just wanted to put that out there. So I'm checking in for a wonderful anniversary, and I'm complete. Thank you.
Yeah, I just add, I haven't had we've only had a chat, text chat, but I was really interested in what he was doing. So it's interesting that they talk about the rights of the earth, because this is one of those leverage points that we have here with the Urwera forest and the Wanganui River and Mount Taranaki as well. And so that legal side, Doug and I have talked a bit about that and explored that area. And I'm sure Lucy will as well, in her part of the world. But that's part of the joy of this group, is that we are such a global group, that we can bring a whole pile of different perspectives, around our communities as well as ourselves into it, and know that people are actually going to really actively listen and offer things, which is, it's just lately I've just been bombarded with really interesting people coming from all sorts of directions, and my mind is trying to work out, how does stuff sync together, how does it fit together? And we do have to have these conversations. So even if this is kind of like a practice for us, we're using this technology, and it's going to be so useful when we gather in other little circles to talk through concepts and ideas and resolve things. I don't know what else to say. I need more coffee. It's still early in the morning here.
I have something to say. I noticed a while ago that Alex isn't here, and that's a face I really miss, given that this is this anniversary. I don't know when Alex actually joined, but for me at least, he's always been there and brings something very special. So I just wanted to have his name mentioned.
Glenn is also not here, and he's quite a special member as well. But I need to go now, so thank you everyone for today. It's been great.
And I will take the desk chair from the Titanic away, because I really would like to dance with you in 2 hours. See you soon.
It's part of a thought, perhaps it's a checkout thought. I think it is interesting to reflect how the kinds of nuanced understanding and relationship and depth of care and depth of insight I'm seeing in this call would have been, let me say, at least very surprising if I had seen it 1 year ago in this call. That it took a year to get us to this level of depth and connection. Not that we weren't doing really interesting, fabulous stuff, but it just takes time to build these relationships and to build community and to build that trust. And I want to thank Tammy also for inviting me to this community and having the conversations that led to adoption of all these practices and the fact that she and I looked at each other and said, we got no place else to go. We're here. We're committed. We're not leaving. Which I think has been central to me for my participation in this community and me keeping showing up, and the fact that there's a continuity there that then can spawn other things, whether they're how-tos, GCCs, the CCCs, whatever. Okay, but I think continuity counts for a lot, and commitment allows for continuity. And I think that's the thing that, to me, has led to the kinds of sharing we can do today, which, as Dave was just saying, we don't find these kind of conversations many other places. So that's my little perspective sharing on what this anniversary is going to look like for me.
Tend to agree with you there, nearly 100%. Amazing is not a word that I care to use because it's been overused. But here it seems quite right. We live in a maze. We have been all over the maze and found ourselves somehow pointed in this direction, and we've stayed. That is amazing. Let us continue the process. I'm complete.
For me, in reflecting, hey, there's Colin. I've been really thinking into Heiner and myself, and how, I feel a lot of resonance with how much information Heiner holds and how difficult it is to really be able to, express it, because it's this wholeness. There's this experience of wholeness that I experience in myself. And when I try and express what I really want and desire and what moves me, it breaks it away from that whole, and I get really uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, but the press record is nothing without really valuing what it is that we're talking about. And that's nothing without being able to really show up as myself. And that's nothing without being able to listen to each other and really understand what we're all bringing. And then now let's bring that as the baseline. Okay, we have all that. Maybe now we can kind of reach upward to what we can be together, and to be able to express that all of a piece it's impossible, except through the experiential beingness of it. So it's still talking as I'm thinking. That's what it is. That's the best kind of like real moment experience of what that is allowing the energy to move through me that's in that wants to speak, and then try. Maybe it goes, maybe it's heard. If it's recorded, I can look back and see, how well did I do? Was I holding it? Was it in my beingness, so that when it was expressed, it could actually be received and taken in? Or was I, what part did I miss saying? Because I have this sense of the wholeness that is integral to make it be integral. So I've loved Heiner being able to really, because you've been such a puzzle for me. I'm like, I know you've got so much, but I can't recapitulate it myself. And yesterday, when I was watching the piece and I was really understanding that you had come from the very beginnings of what data was, and what it means as far as information. And then information is only relevant from within the context that can be understood by the intelligence considering that. That's us. So what is the context that we find ourselves in any circumstance in this way, we could be anyone that's showing up. But this facility, this experience and facility of being that person in the center, knowing something and needing to express it and be heard and reflected and understood. This rich field is especially meaningful when it comes to someone like you, Heiner, who has been in the trenches for decades and has been doing that work. And it's simply one example of a brilliant being who has so much to offer, and what needs to happen is it needs to be received, it needs to be plugged in. And so I'm grateful for this moment to put my finger on that, because that's also what I need. And so I'm grateful to see others who are in the same position as me, so I don't feel like I'm, some freak over here with this deep understanding of something. I'm walking with Heiner and Sam and Doug and Lucy and Harry and Josh and Deswinder and Dave and Colin and all the others that aren't here. But making it real and making it expressed and explicit in a scene space, that I think gives me the opportunity to learn. And I feel that that's this first year for me has been all about learning what I know from an intuitive sense, but need others to see clearly. So thank you, Heiner, and everyone, but thank you, Heiner.
Very nice. But you see, we have to talk about the next year. This is why I'm here. This is so important. That's why I originally proposed we do it at 11 o'clock or midnight GMT. That friends in Tokyo, Singapore, Bangalore can join us. That's why I want to have maybe 2 sessions, one eastbound and one westbound. I have, beside Dave, whom I know through the Millennium Project, already made sure some people getting up early in Sydney or somewhere. So let's see what's happening. I think we have to work, Harry and Doug, because I did talk to Doug since last Sunday, and I'm slowly getting hot. We have to get prepared. I think you can join us, but I think we're moving. Do we, Doug? Harry? Who is moving? Sleeping? Me too.
Yeah, we'll circle up as soon as this is done, and we're okay. We're okay. To pick up on where Tammy left off. It's one thing to establish the practice that we've established and the relationships and connections we've established here that we co-create. It's another thing for each person as an individual to come from that place, speak from that place, and share what they bring from that place. It's a radically different story than what each of us would have attempted to do 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And so it takes practice. It's not a one-shot deal. It's not, I get up, I do my hour or 2 hours, or I do my 6 Saturdays, or I do my whatever, and I may get it all out, but it doesn't mean in the telling of it, and the packaging and framing and contextualization of it, the expression of it, that we've nailed our best story or narrative version of it. That takes practice. And it takes doing it multiple times, and it takes doing it and looking at it and going, and going back at the mill and taking another run at it. But it also takes real, attentive, genuine, generative inquiry and presence of others. It can't be done in front of a mirror in isolation or in a vacuum. It actually has to be in front of real people that are generatively valuable, meaningful, helpful, contributive through presence and listening to its creation. And so there isn't a limit on that. There isn't a constraint on that, and there isn't a power that the clock has, or the number of times we've taken a run at it. There isn't a number of times where we run out of opportunity. And that's a big part of what I think the GCC is. It seems like there are people that get frustrated by us seeming to revisit the same place over and over again, but it's never exactly the same. It's always evolved, it's always shifted, changed, gotten more focused, more sophisticated, more depth, more inquiry, more awareness, understanding, more connection, sharing. Each time, even though if you did a word pattern analysis, it would look like exactly the same conversation over and over again. It isn't. It's never been. And so, eliminate the clock and eliminate the counters and eliminate the how much time have I had or how many times have I taken a run at it on an individual basis. And as long as we stay generous and curious with each other and keep at it, we do nothing but get better. And in getting better as storytellers, we become more powerful as agents of it out in the world and interacting with others. And that's the deal. That's the real deal. So, and for me, since Heiner's head is about to explode, I'm gonna sign out to sign in with him to hold his hand and calm him down. That 2 hours from now will be fine. And and I hope most, if not all of you, can attend and be there. And Harry, I'm gonna open my room. You have that link, and if you need it, I can ping you with it. But if you want to join us, you can. And we'll give Heiner his comfort period leading into his next attempt, his next round. And I love all of you, and you're an important part of my life and family. So thank you.
Josh?
Thanks. I just wanted to mention yesterday was Global Citizens Day in the United States, and I think they practice it all over the world. I had never heard of it. My mom just mentioned it to me, and I looked on the TV, and there was a giant concert in New York City. So I did a little looking into it, but there's an interweaving of everything, and I just want to acknowledge other people around the world, for what they do for Global Citizen and trying to get these next generations to think globally. And even if they're just having fun at a great concert, there's good stuff going on. So, just remember, with all the heaviness that comes on our shoulders of trying to collaborate globally, there's a lot of people that are keeping it light too. And there's a lot of great people out there. So I just wanted to mention that yesterday was Global Citizen Day, at least in America. And I think it goes on throughout many countries in the world. So hopefully we can all be global citizens. And I think this group is definitely a global citizen group. but it'd be nice to have a passport where I could come visit all of you guys. Just a global citizen passport. So I just putting that out there. It'd be fun to have my global citizen passport one day. Happy Global Citizens Day.
Today, the Zoom link is that passport. Maybe next year it can be something more concrete, material.
As our Prime Minister said, it's a we, not me thing, though, the whole global thing. I think she probably summed up about respect instead of globalization as being a scary, nasty thing. It's all of us collaborating a little bit more. I was wondering whether I should even mention that. Sorry, Sam. Is my next when Tammy was talking, I had a very intense call from a professor from Hong Kong University a few days ago, and he was talking about his work and the stages of life that we go through, and sense of neuroscience, and as newborns, as babies, we're just absorbing all of this information, and so we're taking it in. So that's kind of like the first stage of life, where our senses are picking up on things, where everything that we see is new. The second stage, we get encouraged to specialize, to find those little bits and pieces that we're good at and that we do, and so we become very vertical. We go in this third stage where we start to notice the synchronicities, and this is where I was thinking about this as well, is that we come with our own stuff, and then there's this synchronicity where we connect with these people unexpectedly and in a kind of a beautiful way, because things are complementary. And so that single and then we go into this fourth stage where we go back down into this pool of neurons, of bits of information and assembling things, but we see it differently, and we gain this whole different perspective through that emergence out into this other space where we see where things seem to be random and they make sense. We start to weave things, and then we go in the last stage out into that space, which is kind of like the miracles. There's something that's in flow, that's beautiful, that's coming together and can come together in a very live, living sort of a form. And so it's just when you were talking, Tammy, about starting this group and things, I was thinking this kind of follows the pattern that he was talking about, because we did come in as these little bits and pieces, and we probably had this expectation that we would, maybe be an authority on something, so that vertical, and then we find all the bits out there, and bits of the puzzle keep turning over. So yeah, it's just something that I'm going to be reflecting on a little bit more. And I think probably for me at that stage of just having that self-confidence myself to be able to go to that last stage and help make the magic happen. And it's certainly that much possible. I wouldn't have the confidence if it wasn't for this group, even though I've hardly ever been here for so long, because it is such a diverse group of people that goes deep, that bring their full selves. And, there can be, as Sam said, you should be able to feel angry or the whole range of emotions. And just saying that sort of made my connection with understand that little bit stronger as well. Because, you know, we can just present our good selves, but to present our whole selves, just with Tammy and Harry, your experience and the truth that you shared, I just went, wow, I really do need to get on that plane because I want to see these people in the physical world. And that's, you know, that is why I'm leaving this house. That's why I'm packing everything away. I'm just throwing it out there. Just get on the road. Just get on the plane, get on the boat, telefuse. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah. And I want to share, Dave, we hardly met real life, but also the way you present is a great example how touched I can be with people I hardly know. And I learned this year, I want to share that as well with the group, that I've changed from a very mental thinking person, trying only to understand life from the kingdom of my skull, to a totally multidimensional sensing being from lucid alert felt sense, where there's much more stuff. I'm basically totally emotional at this point, and I don't know why, but it's happening. Just wanted to share this.
See what you've done, Tammy?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you had the faith. You knew how much richer the video experience could be, and we really have just played with it in the past. I mean, as people collectively, this is really an opportunity to form caring relationships. Yeah, there's just so much to it, but so much more when we're
One question that pops into my mind at this 1 year anniversary is, as Dave says, this is happening everywhere, you know. These conversations are taking place. And I'm wondering what kind of excitement, what kind of movement would we create if we've all got our little antennas and sensors out there and try to make these connections with other conversations that are taking place. I guess unconsciously that was, I'm now realizing that's what I was trying to do when I invited Surya to this conversation. And as Tammy mentioned, she's got dozens of friends that she has yet to bring to this conversation. I do as well. And I think it's interesting to see that even though we didn't create all the stuff that we said we're going to create, and whether it's a manifesto form, a constitution form, or governance model form, there is something else that's emerging. And there's these little micro things that are happening. And I'm interested in seeing other groups who have attempted this. What have they come up with? What is it that we can learn from them? What is it that we can then complement so that we can actually, you know, add value to each other? So that's just a little thought that popped into my head as I imagined Dave going out on the road. And as I imagined Surya going back to her different communities. And what's going on with, you know, all the outreach that Tammy's been doing with Indigenous peoples and others. And I'm not even mentioning, you know, everything everybody else is doing. There's still a lot of connections to be made. I don't even think we have anybody in the continent, the entire continent of Africa, right? We still don't have anyone there. I don't know if we have anybody under 30. Wait, is Lucy under 30? I don't know.
Sam, I love you. I love you anyway, but I love you even more now. She just said
other than Lucy, I don't know if anybody under 30 in this group, you know. So there's a whole lot of different communities yet to be reached. And those are all interesting, really exciting conversations that I think I'm looking forward to. Over.
Heiner, you're muted. Also, I think Doug is waiting for you in his room.
Maybe Heiner's staying here to make sure that Harry goes also.
Well, I was waiting for Heiner to go. That's how it works. Okay. I think I'll take a little break. And Heiner's talking to somebody else, apparently. So I'll pop off. Thank you so much for this celebration. It's one of the most serious celebrations I've been part of. So, good to know you all.
Brought out the cake yet?
Yeah.
I have ice cream because Lucy said get some ice cream.
Okay. Bye for now and into
Bye,
the
Harry.
next year. Thank you so much.
Bye.
I have a friend here from out of town, and I'd also like to have some time in between. But I've loved this call. I love you all, and I'm so honored that we've all come together to do this, and that people have been okay with this press record idea, and that we gather and love and support each other. And I feel this. I loved what you said about Sam, about all of the, there are people all over the planet. That's what I'm feeling. That's why I'm really alive in this, is that I know that everywhere people are having this in some way transformation of consciousness, and that sometimes looks like what people are doing in the world, and it sometimes looks like how we are being. And wow, I just feel like we're at this place of really feeling what's next. And I feel a really big transition. And as Colin says, I want to be ready. So I'm grateful for this chance to just show up and be me, and whether I feel that I'm ready or not, being ready. So gratitude and thank you, everyone.
Well, it's been a tremendous experience being here today. There are other groups, quite right, and we all have friends that we may feel we want to invite here when the time is right. The people who are in other groups and possibly may come to this group, we're all gravitating towards people that we resonate with, and we stay there. Will we have a universal or a singular resonance in a few years' time if we work at it? Anyway, the family's back from their birthday party, so I'm going to go and join them now. Thank you very much. I look forward to the next session. Bye.
Bye, Jaswinder.
Bye.
I'll drop off as well. Love to you all.
And then there were 4. Colin, did you have your hand up a minute ago? Or were you just stretching?
Can you hear me? I was just waving at Tammy. I'm just listening. I'm still learning. As Sam said, there's many things he hasn't brought. So I think it is a common thing where there's so much to be discussed, and how do you do it effectively? And how do you include the whole world?
Heine, you're back. Well, maybe not. He's talking to somebody, but it's not us.
Surprisingly, I'm not able to unmute Heiner.
No, I can't remember.
He's got a couple of PCs, so he's probably on another camera.
I think he's talking to
focused
the
on.
Yeah.
We could lip read, and then we could what they're talking.
I think it's
But,
fine. For me,
yeah. While Lucian's here, because Doug and recently Lucy and I have been talking about some of the work that we've been doing, and we wanted to also talk to you, Sam, about some of the stuff with your insight, because it's such a global collaborative project. You know, I think this group is really good at it. I wouldn't have brought Doug into it if it hadn't been for this group and seeing and hearing the type of person that he was, rather than just that vertical box that we put people into, and we go, oh, that's the box that I need to fit in here. It's seeing something far deeper. And it was also the same with Arthur Brock, seeing Arthur and hearing Arthur and learning more about his philosophy beyond the thing that drove the project in the first place. And then having spent 10 days with him, staying with me here, really allowed me to feel the depth of the person and build that relationship and that trust and whatnot. So, you know, we've got big jobs, as Joshua was saying, we're not just connecting humans, but connecting earthlings of every shape and form. And we don't have much time. So this needs to, in this form, needs to spin out into other groups as well. We pop them up all over the place. Maybe we need to do a call just about, and I guess we've touched on it in this one, our experience of doing video conversations like this, so that other people can go, okay, I might start my own one, because it's obviously something that's deeper than just having a conversation or having an agenda and a set of things to do and boxes to tick. I don't know. I'm ranting now. I need a second coffee.
I wonder, I'm not, I think there's a big role for reaching out and finding these other connections, but I think we sometimes underestimate what just happens by us taking what we get from each other and going out in the world, and that maybe we don't actually have to try so hard sometimes, that it does kind of happen. You know, there's people that pop up in my life now and people I meet, and I don't know, I think some of it's, if we just stay open to it and trust this process, that we are doing it bit by bit. Not that we can't do it a bit faster or connect to others, but yeah, for me at least helps to balance sometimes when that frustration comes, that it's not happening fast enough. is to think that maybe it's happening in ways that I can't quite see.
Yeah. I think that was when I was talking to Gino Yu in Hong Kong. That's kind of what he was, and a lot of people in the sort of that second stage where they're putting their collective thoughts together and specialising and very rigid. And you can't help but see the synchronicities, that things that happen, but in a lot of cases it just gets dismissed because we're told we need to be more efficient and more focused. Matthew Shute is trying to get hold of me now, talking about Arthur Brooke, they'll pop in. And this is, I think some of these conversations have helped me reflect more on myself, especially having Sam and Harry, two in particular, who have been very generous with, with bringing up sort of deep thought and feelings as well. But anyway, I'll stop now. I'm going to read what I've got another call to do. So I might say goodbye. Well, see you soon. And I'd like to have a one-on-one, Sam, and probably Colin as well.
No, that'd be great. Please do reach out.
Explore a little bit more.
Let's get it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that the one-on-one probably works better for me than the group because I'm not focused on one thing and my message is not trained, and but I've learned so much, and I find that what you said was very very true, that we have to keep trying to hone the message in order for it to be heard and appreciated by other people and make a fit. And I think if you do what Lucy said, stay open to it, you can realize where you might resonate with other people and pick up on their idea, and they can pick up on some of your ideas, and you can sort of adjust. But I do feel that I do have some difficulty adjusting to the group, not having come in through the front door, and the urgency of the mission statement and these different things. And again, Sam says these things are changing from the original statements. And Dave's saying maybe the Zoom calls and the magic of actually feeling a part of and being inspired by other people trying. And I think Jazzwinder was saying the last call that if you feel that maybe trying to reach too hard, that maybe you want to pile some more on of yourself and not to worry about being selfish. I think if you're a selfish person, the group will weed you out soon enough. And if they find value in what you have, then they'll reach out. It's simple as that. And I think that my focus should have been on profile building, not on trying to get Tammy to weed me through the let's do a big thing on what is the GCC and what's the governance and all this. Doug said, just tell us a little about yourself and what you're trying to do. I think that would have went a lot smoother. I just spent a lot of time trying to understand what Tammy wanted to do, which is my natural. I wasn't trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So anyway, I've come a full circle a couple of times, and yeah, a lot to reflect upon. And I think that my commitment to the group has yet to be defined, because I'm still needing to make money. I've never heard money mentioned once. Just to, how much time have I given? Has it been worth it? So I've got to weigh that. I'm expecting to receive as well. And, I definitely don't want to be a waste. Yeah.
When I have a feeling that why have we all started it? I think that's because there's two one man.
for you today.
I couldn't quite hear you, Lucy.
Yeah, I'm echoing. As soon as Dave left.
Well,
you two both have two screens, and I just have one.
oh, my other one is in a very different room. It doesn't actually affect this particular session, but I was hoping to be able to ask a question before Dave left, which is this sense of urgency. One of my good friends, Dino Karabag from Oslo, taught me this notion called, God, on the tip of my tongue, and now I can't even bring it back. But there's this notion of going slow in order to make good progress fast. Festino lente or something like Festino lente. The point being, if you rush too much, you just create too much chaos and you slow yourself down. And you sort of have to sort of go slow enough so that every necessary step can be taken. But I reflect on this question. If we look back on the history of, let's say, Easter Island, there's people in industry chopping down trees and building these Moabs, these huge statues of heads. And I'm wondering whether there was a segment of the community that was trying to slow down and sort of bring a different consideration to their economy, to their whole ecosystem. Now, history says if there was such a group, they were ineffective because the whole ecology of Easter Island essentially died down. And I'm wondering what situation we're in now. We're trying to build these communities. We have the sense of urgency. We're trying to go at the pace that feels natural and feels like it has a good grounding. And yet, I can't help but think, are we taking the path of Easter Island, or are we able to then still turn the species around? And obviously, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm just trying to figure out whether asking that question could lead to other more interesting questions. Over.
I bet there was a group. What can I do about it?
The mic? It's like you'd have to turn your speakers down, I think, or use headphones.
How's that? Am I still echoing? Oh, there we go. No, Sam, for sure, there must have been a group there, a mini GCC in Easter Island who were like, shit, these guys are going to fuck it up. We have to do something.
An ECC. Easter Island Challenges Collaboration Group.
Yeah. But I think there's, at least for me, and I think I see this in others, when we try and go too fast, then we end up spinning our wheels and we don't get anywhere. When we try and push it and there's this urgency comes in, it can be like it paralyzes us almost. So I think there's some skill in finding the balance between that moving ahead, but also staying open and trusting the process. At least for me, it's really like, it's like cycling on a wire. How can I keep as much momentum while still being open without going too fast and falling off? Or something like that. But I have to go. I need to take the dog out and do some stuff before Heine's big show.
I just heard my daughter wake up and the dogs get all excited upstairs also. So
I wanted to say one other thing to Colin. This was when the speaker did funny things. That I think you belong much more than you give yourself credit for in this group. And my feeling is you're a little harsh to yourself about how you should have approached people or what you should have done first. And I think that the contribution you bring is fantastic. And I think just if you're feeling good in this group, then you should just stay here and see how it all turns out. I think it's great what you bring.
Well, thank you. I didn't really have a lot of expectations. I was kind of tapped to come in and present something, and I don't think it was the same thing that I ended up presenting. It was a previous project, and yeah, I do feel very disaligned with any one project. I've met a couple of people, Joshua doing some stuff, but still it's up in the air. And Michael Jewesifitz with the Africa thing. There's somebody in Africa, and he's doing PrinterNet. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Lucy, because I do feel like I am, how do you say, Tammy put it, self-sabotaging my connections, and I have a natural tendency to not reach out. So, and plus, I probably should be making some money.
Yeah, that's
so this is a hobby for me, but I choose wicked problems for hobbies, and I don't know why. And so yeah, it was natural to gravitate here. But yeah, what I want to do is back up and go slow. I was going slow. I was experimenting, navigating, and trying to find my way. And I think just by not having a clear message and not stating expectations, not being ready, it's an iterative thing, like Doug said at the beginning of the call. You have to practice it.
Yeah.
And I think that takes vulnerability, and you put yourself out there, be ready to fall down. I do feel, though, the lack of signals from other people is very discouraging.
Okay. What does signal look like for you?
For me, it would look like you're bang on. I like that. We'll talk about it in a month from now when I got time. Or, that's ridiculous. You're outside of your, why are you comment? Like I comment on something with Hainer, and I think, that was quite a faux pas. I kind of got sideswiped because it was about all this rape going around. And Fleming started this thread on rape, and I didn't notice that Hainer was outside of the question that he was. So I was out one, and Hainer said, what's the third option? And I said, third option to rape? I said, oh my God, that's a horrible question. So that went way off the rails, poor Hainer. But that's my INTP, and that's why I really feel like personalities are really important, so you know how to signal something. Some people are just confident, and they're just going to keep going. Other people, if they don't get some kind of feedback that their time is valuable, they're going to spend it somewhere else.
But that all feels to me exactly why you're in the right place. Everything that you've just described.
I do want to learn about conversations in groups, and I do know I have a bit of a context issue. So commenting on the wrong lane might have been, foreshadowing of the problem. But it's not a way to meet people, put it that way. Especially when they're in the middle of doing something. And I also feel like this was the meeting where they were going to discuss things with Hainer. Is that correct? And now they're all off in another room discussing things with Hainer. And is the thing later on today?
Actually, the Hainer discussion is separate. This is the unblocking / 1 year anniversary call.
Okay, well that's good. That makes me feel a little better. But yeah, I do feel like my connection to people is a lot stronger than their connection to me, because people are practiced well, and they do have a message, and they are attractive. And me being unpracticed, it's definitely easy for me to see how I got more practice to do. You could put it that way. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to back up and focus on the things that I've touched that matter most to me, and see if that gels with people.
I think you're underestimating yourself, though, Colin, because I think what I see is, like, from when you first joined, a huge amount of vulnerability to put yourself in this learning experience, a huge amount of honesty about where you are and who you are, and if something doesn't quite work, and a huge amount of willingness to make a contribution, like this mapping you've done. So I think the picture you have of yourself might not be, at least for me, it's not the picture I have. There's a bit of a...
Yeah, well, Tammy mentioned as well, she said, I don't think you should be speaking that way, because, think about how that makes you look, and others are going to get the wrong impression of you. Like, don't speak negatively, basically. And I think there's something to be said about having too many things to want to talk about, and focusing those things. And so, yeah, my thing is definitely technology. And I'm here looking at ways to build knowledge trails that are generated dynamically based on what conversation is at hand. So that people in the audience or people who are having the conversation know where they are and can have a more complicated conversation, push pause and come back.
Yeah.
Or push that conversation. So, you know, that is the vision. I don't know if I've managed to say it properly. I
think it's really cool. I think it's a great part. It's a great addition. And in a way, you're unique in what you're trying to do. No one else has tried to do this in this group.
Well,
not in that way.
I have to be careful about the uniqueness.
Go on, Sam.
Sam wants to talk? Please, Sam.
Colin, one of the things that you're bringing is this visual mapping of conversations, and I go way back on that stuff. You and I haven't had this conversation with, but one of my decades-long passions is to be able to create spaces where ideas can be manipulated, just like, you know, candy bars or whatever, so that we can actually connect them, we can actually map them to other things, we can split them apart, we can actually recompose them, we can build connections to them, we can make it bigger, we can make them smaller, we can rotate them around, we can send them off to somebody else as idea structures, you know? And that's very Engelbartian, and that's one of the things that I've been doing for decades. So that's a conversation that you and I should have, and I can go through the litany of tools that I've tried and have specified and I'm still waiting to build. So that's another whole conversation right there.
Yeah, if you two are going to get all nerdy, then I'm going.
No.
Not at this moment, however. Yeah.
I would like to flash what my creation is in the background for you to have a look at on the screen if you want. I can't screen share right now, but you could tell me if it is.
So here's the question. Is it 1080p or is it higher res? Because if it's higher res, then the whole rest of the video is going to get a little bit screwed up, I found out. But if it's 1080p or less, then it's probably okay.
I think I'm at high res.
Is it 4K? Are you at 4K?
It's a high level view, so I don't really want to see details.
Yeah, let's have that separate conversation, Colin. Let's do it, because I discovered when I shared something at 4K, a lot of screwy things happened to that video. So
yeah,
it's not that I don't want to see it, but I just want to make sure that this video is preserved well for people who want to attend.
Even better, why don't I just try to, in 30 seconds, describe what's here?
Yeah, and send it to me. Send me a link.
Yeah, it's a game, and it has a totem pole where you're coming in good gracious in this land. So you have to respect the rules, essentially, of the conversation, and you get through different levels of the conversation depending on how skillful you are at conversation. So if you're not ready, you can just kindly rotate in the "you're not ready" queue as you get ready with other people. People will take you as seriously as how ready you are. And then I've got different models of different conversations that you can have, different levels of skills of conversations. And as you go through the game and eventually build the knowledge mentors that we're searching for. So it's kind of like a map of a design that could be wrong, that should be, you know, get people closer to what an effective conversation is. 30 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And it is the manipulation that you're talking about, Sam.
So let's have that conversation soon. By the way, I'm also on my way to California, so I have to get ready now. I'm on a flight in a few hours. So
yeah, and I have to take the dog out.
What, 3.5 hours already?
I know. It's been a great conversation, though.
Yeah, it's a good way to sort of recognize the 1 year life of GCC post-submission.
Yeah.
There was certainly a life to GCC before the submission as well, just to recognize that.
Yeah. Right then. I think you're
okay,
Colin, but you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just thought, did Heiner's thing already start?
No, I think it's 10.
It starts, yeah, it starts at 1.5 hours, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hunt it down. I'll try to be less. I'll try to be less critical. Thank you guys very much. Your words mean more than you know.
And both of you too, if you ever need a chat, whatever, all of this stuff that we're talking about.
I do need one. I'll reach out, Lizzie.
Yeah. Lots of love to both of you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye all. Happy
Bye.
GCC for now. I meant to say happy birthday. Happy 1-year birthday to GCC.